guys? Welcome back to the Of Stone and Clay podcast. Today we have just a terrific guest I'm excited about. Her name is Sarah Davies. She hosts the podcast More Than Musicians podcast. She is an owner of the Piano Place. She's a pianist, a teacher, a mother of 100 kids. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Fun to be on this side.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it, but it's fun to have you in the driver's seat.
Yeah. You don't have like an entire notebook of notes and
I showed up with nothing. just an open, willing, vulnerable heart for you to pick
without purse
open.
or script. Well, tell me this. I would love to hear a little bit more about the impetus for your show and what made you. Obviously, music is a big part of your life, and you're passionate about it. What made you decide to get into the podcast world and the creator world, and kind of put yourself out there a little bit?
Yeah, so a little backstory. We in 2016 we opened this music school, the Piano Place, and it took off. It's a long story, but 12 locations later of the Piano Place.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, my role has kind of shifted.
Yeah.
And I've kind of found myself, my husband stepped in as CEO during COVID. And I have, like you said, 1 million kids that I really love to be home with. And so I love to work. Like I'm
5 for the record.
5 for the record.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really not 1 million.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like 1 million. But sometimes I just want to work. Like as a mom, I feel like I'm the best mother when I have a day or two in the office to use that creative part of me, that capable part of me. And so I've done the social media for the Piano Place for a long time. And just this past spring hired a very talented, very capable social media girl. And I just kind of found that they didn't need me.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, I've wanted to do a podcast for the Piano Place. And just lately I've had this, tug on my heart to talk less maybe about music education and more about the stories of these amazing musicians I've been able to network with, through teaching for us. And so it's been, I guess, kind of a inspiration type thing. I had very strong promptings to start it. Yeah. And I'm kind of relying on those as I enter a place in the workspace that's stretching me and kind of making me grow in a way that I wasn't really expecting.
What about it is such a stretch for you? What about it is not natural and maybe at times not enjoyable for you?
I think it's just caused me to really have to take a hard look at the inside parts of me that have this desire to be someone and to be something and to put something out into the world. It's vulnerable. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to make it. What if people don't care? What if, I don't have a broadcast journalism background. So I'm like, I don't know the right questions to ask. I think I've just put a lot of pressure on myself to have it be successful. And I had someone in my life point out to me, I think when you need it to be that, you've made it about yourself. And that's not why you're doing this. That's not my why.
Right.
My why is because I feel this prompting and I want to tell other people's stories. And so that pressure was self-inflicted, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's almost like you have to come up with the right definition of success, because if you're like, well, I don't care about success at all, then you're not motivated to improve it.
Right.
You're not motivated to keep doing it and make it as big as possible. Because if you are motivated to help people and share stories, you can't do that unless it's kind of successful.
Right.
Right. And so, but I guess I think detaching your self-worth from the success and saying, I'm not a success. The podcast is a success, but it's kind of a tricky balance.
Totally. And I just think it's caused me to dig deep and look at some things in my life. Maybe it goes back to childhood wounds or something, but just needing it to be perceived a certain way. And I've actually really been so grateful to have kind of a mirror reflected back at me in doing the podcast. And it's just kind of caused me it's brought me to my knees, but then in the best ways, it's opened me up and almost just allowed me to breathe and to be, I was telling my husband, I'm like, he's such a cute, talking about you. I'm like, he's such a cool cucumber. We don't prep. I'm like, I didn't know that we could do that because, I'm a little more high strung and I've got all these notes that I'm trying to do. And I'm like, there are other ways to do this that will require less pressure on me. And that's more sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I prep a lot, but at the end of the day, I just want to trust my voice. Right?
Yeah.
I want to trust my ability to have a conversation with a human.
Yeah.
you
And
know?
you've mastered
And
it.
so, well, I don't know about that, but it's like, I think to me, the prep is like, I'm listening to your podcast.
Exactly.
I'm getting a feel for your way of understanding the world and what you're, expert in or what you've struggled with. And then I can go in with context.
Yes.
To me, context is the biggest part.
For sure.
Right. But as far as like having every part of your biography written down.
That's what I've learned.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how necessary that is.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm not sure how much my viewers care about a lot of like resume items.
Right.
I call them,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of times podcasters, their vision, part of their ethos is to highlight their guest,
Yeah.
which is great. But to me, I'm like, I don't want it to be all about my guest has done this and my guest has done this and my guest has done this. I more care about who is my guest.
The deep parts.
Yeah, what is inside their soul?
Yeah.
What makes them feel a certain way? But yeah, every podcast is different.
Yeah,
so.
no, you do a fabulous job. That's
Thank
you're
you.
like in the industry. I definitely look up to you and admire you a lot.
I appreciate it. What do you think it is about music? And this is a question I've asked a lot of musicians. And I'm such a deep lover of music, but I have no actual abilities, right? But what is it about music that really can pierce our souls at times when other media can't quite do it at the same level, Because to me, it's obvious when you're really touched maybe by a lyric, right?
Mhm.
But it's interesting. The other day, I was at my church and I'm listening to this organist, right? And in our church, we share the same faith. In our church, there's an organ player,
Yes.
which I don't know if I've seen an organ anywhere else
I know.
in the world.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Right. We love the organ. But he was such a good organist and was just going to town. And for some reason, it just touched me deeply. And I started weeping in the middle of a hymn. And I'm not usually that guy. I'm easily moved to tears. But I was just like, what is it? I don't even understand what's going on. Some note, some ethereal thing is touching me, and I'm not even sure I understand, because I wasn't specifically moved by the lyrics. And sometimes I am, but this time I was just moved by the sound, or maybe it was the passion of the musician. What do you think it is about music that has that power?
There's so many things. And
Yeah.
it's almost hard to put to words. I've tried to capture it a million times over the course of my business and different things. And there's a couple things I think for me that it comes back to. And one is that it transcends language. It connects us, it unifies us in a shared moment. And that's one of the aspects of it that I really love. I think music gives us an opportunity to turn inward. It almost allows us to tune the background noise out and just focus in on what's being played or what's being shared, or like the experience that we're enjoying. And I think that when we turn inward that way, for me, I can connect to myself. I can connect to my higher power when I do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have my own beliefs, my own faith, but I truly believe that music is a gift that we've been given.
Yeah.
Ethereal, you talk about that. Like, I do think there's a spiritual, heavenly power behind it. And I think there's a gift that we've been given.
There's some divinity to it.
There is.
Yeah.
There's a concept called frisson. And I talk about this all the time. Everyone's like, Sarah, we know this is your soapbox, but it's like that concept when you get chills, like, on your arm. And some people are more inclined in the world to get them.
Yeah.
They're maybe more highly sensitive to music. But I feel like that is a gift that we've been given to prick our senses. And when you get frisson and you experience that, recall is greater, right? You can better recall something that happens in those moments of frisson. Yeah. And I just think that kind of is this gift we can use to like remember or to anchor ourselves. For me, it's like my beliefs. And when I've had these really powerful experiences, those are little anchors into my personal beliefs.
Yeah, I like that. Who for you is maybe not number one, but for sure top 3 musician of all time, if you had to pick?
So, different people for different reasons.
Sure.
We love the Beatles at our house. My
Okay.
husband's a huge,
Yeah.
huge Beatles
The
fan.
Beatles are a nice band to love because they're prolific.
Yes, and there's so many options to
Yeah.
listen to.
Yeah.
Like we don't ever run out of songs.
Mhm.
And so love the Beatles, but something that kind of speaks to me on a more like personal level. There's an artist named Sissel. And she first came on my radar when she performed with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir one
Mhm.
year. And her music is just so powerful to me.
Yeah.
It like just cuts to my soul so deeply. And,
Yeah.
I have other artists that are more modern. And
Mhm.
What's really fun about this podcast that I'm doing is that I get to interview these people. It's like my Super Bowl to have them perform live for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like a Sissel, and I'm maybe a nerd, but like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and I think it's the unity of so many voices doing one common task that feels very powerful to me, and to be part of those moments. So
yeah, that's cool. Okay, back to the process of being a podcast host. I'm curious, what about it for you has been the most surprising? As you're like, what'd you say, 12 episodes in?
yeah,
So you're in a really exciting time where you're experimenting and you're trying new things and you're getting a flow and you're figuring out your rhythm. What for you has been sort of a surprising element of it that you didn't expect?
I think I've been more surprised at how much angst that I have. Like
Yeah.
it's for whatever reason, like I get really, really anxious going
Mhm.
into it, and like almost maybe it's called imposter syndrome.
Sure,
like,
that's part of it.
going into these episodes being like, how am I capable, of doing this interview? But I think what's been more surprising is walking out of them and feeling the energy, the spirit of the room after
Mhm.
it, and just the gratitude that I feel and getting to be part of these conversations. My goal is to not push any agenda of my own, but
Mhm.
to give artists a platform to come on and to tell their story,
Yeah.
whatever that story might be, and to just get to be an observer
Yeah.
in that. It's given me a huge perspective on the grandeur, and like the amazing, beautiful talent. It's honestly brightened my world
Yeah.
to be able to see talent up close like that.
Right. That's so cool. What was it like being able to sit down and do episodes with your dad and with your husband?
Yeah, that was so nice for me to have those familiar faces on
Yeah.
the other
Were
side,
you nervous going into those as well?
especially at the beginning. Less nervous to be with people that I'm so
Yeah.
comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to tell stories that are deeply personal and deeply meaningful
Mhm.
to me, those were really fun. I would say the least amount of anxiety that I've felt has been with them, but it's really cool how each passing episode I've gained just a little bit more confidence and a
Mhm.
little bit more confidence in myself, brushing shoulders with people like you, watching how you do it. It just every single step, and I think the biggest part about it is I had to take that first step in the
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah.
And that's how it was with my business too.
Mhm.
You don't get to start knowing
Right.
all the pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's the beauty of it though,
Mhm.
is that you become what you need.
Yeah.
You become what the show needs by taking the steps.
Yeah. You evolve with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell people, I'm kind of half joking. I like to be self-deprecating with, you know, uh, partly truth, partly I'm joking. But I tell people like my first 68 episodes were horrible. And when I say horrible, I just mean I was in my basement on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Half the time I wasn't even recording. And I was just having my friends on, and
Yeah.
sometimes things would stop work. The mics would stop working.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of just a mess.
Yeah.
Right. But I grew with it, and I got a little bit better here and there.
Yeah.
And I figured out, kind of my purpose within it,
Yeah. There's a book I read recently. It's called The Practice. Have you heard of it?
I haven't.
So it talks about just shipping creative work. So a lot of times, me, an overthinker, I'm in my head like, oh, should I post this? Should I do this? And I just overthink it to the point that it never actually comes to fruition.
Yeah.
And this book changed my life reading it, because it's like, ship it. The feedback that you get from it's going to let you course correct and move on and get better for the next time.
Yeah.
So that's been my mantra lately is just ship it.
Yeah.
Ship it.
Yeah.
And it's against my nature. My husband and I in our business, we're yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
I am like, we've got to have the T's crossed, the I's dotted before we take the next step. And he is kind of a bulldozer just coming through everybody, get out of the way.
Right.
And there's been a really beautiful balance that we've been able to strike in the two of those things.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect is so inefficient.
Yeah.
Good is good enough.
Right.
Ship it. That's my whole mantra.
Yeah.
lately.
And, I think as you kind of ship it, you end up just getting more and more data, right? You get more data to tell you, is this good? Is it bad?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes one individual shipment, we'll say, gives you some kind of misleading data.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it every single day, you start to see patterns, you see what works, you see what doesn't, and you also see what you enjoy and what you become passionate about, It
almost takes on a life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to what you had asked, one of the things that was the most scary for me is people's feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a really sensitive person.
Sure.
I just know this about myself.
Yeah.
If you honk at me on the road, I'm hurt.
What about just a little?
Oh yeah. My husband jokes, oh, day ruined. I'm just sensitive. In our business, it's been something that's been very refining for me is to receive feedback or reviews or anything like that. It just I have a tender little heart and I've had to learn that that's, a good thing and a bad thing. And so to your point, the feedback that you get from shipping the work and then someone saying, oh, didn't love this didn't resonate, that's good because I can then just tweak a little bit. And ultimately it can just take on the direction that it needs to from there.
And I think you realize, as you get bigger, you'll get more consequently, you'll get more negative feedback, right? But what I usually notice is the people that are really giving me negative feedback, they're not my audience.
Yeah.
They're just people that have wandered on.
Meandered on in.
And they don't like what I'm saying or they don't like what I'm doing. But I'm like, great, this isn't for you.
Yeah, that's all right.
And so I take no personal offense to it. I just feel bad for them that's how they want to spend their day.
I was going to say, you're spending time on something that doesn't serve you.
Well, it's funny. Sometimes I'll even comment back and I'll be like, hey, I actually really appreciate this because you're just boosting the algorithm. Yeah,
yes.
I appreciate the engagement.
Yeah.
If you want to keep chatting on these comments, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're I think you probably feel the same. When you feel so passionate about this, for us, the podcast that we're doing, when you feel passionate about it and you know that you're trying to have your heart in the right place, I'm trying to be, in my case, I'm trying to be an instrument for good.
Yeah.
And when my heart's in that place, that negative feedback, it can roll off faster. I actually haven't had any yet. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be some, and I'm fully prepared. But that was crippling for me at the beginning to think that I would be on YouTube. That just felt really scary.
Just out in the public.
Yeah, putting myself out there. And
I mean, you do pretty your stuff's hard to make fun of. It's pretty wholesome. Family friendly. It's just people sharing stories, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, if any video that gets 1 million plus views, someone's going to be like, what's up with her hair?
Yes.
Or
the personal attacks.
Yeah.
I think it's good for me. And I think that I couldn't grow as a person without taking these scary steps. And I felt this before, when I started my business, I felt this scary stretching. And I'm in a scary stretching period right now. And I am grateful. That's where I've landed, is in gratitude for the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. What has your relationship with vulnerability been like as you've ventured into this? Has it changed how you view the importance of it for yourself? Because it's one thing to be vulnerable at home with your husband.
Yeah.
It's another thing to be vulnerable with 3 friends at lunch.
Yeah.
And it's another thing to be vulnerable on camera.
Yeah.
With possibly thousands of people seeing.
Yeah. I love that you asked this question, and I'm actually grateful. Vulnerability is so hard for me. And I'll tell you, on a podcast episode, it's been less hard for me. I've probably cried in every episode,
Yeah,
actually. I just, my tears run close to the surface. And um, what I, I'll be really brutally and honest and personal with you. Vulnerability is hard for me I know you guys talk about relationships a lot here,
Mhm.
but on like a personal level,
Mhm.
I feel like I've been able to be vulnerable with my family, my kids. I can get there.
Yeah.
I can get really vulnerable. And I'll be so honest in saying that vulnerability in my marriage has been a hard thing
Why
for
is
me.
that?
I've thought a lot about it, and it's something I'm actively working on. I'm married to someone with a heart wide open for me, and
Mhm.
I'm so grateful for that. But there's two aspects in my life where vulnerability has not come as easy, and it's with God.
Mhm.
I am hesitant sometimes to turn there.
Yeah.
And it's with my husband who's, constantly inviting me in. And this is so vulnerable. I've actually not shared this before, but kneeling to pray for me can sometimes be hard. My
Mm.
husband often invites me, let's pray. And I want to so bad. And it, for some reason, feels so nakedly vulnerable
Yeah.
to me to open up what's deep, deep inside. And so it's something that I'm working on. That's actually one of my resolutions this year
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
whatever work that is that I need to do around being deeply vulnerable
Mhm.
and deeply seen. I think I have a lot surrounding wanting to be capable.
Yeah. It's interesting because you say you want to maybe turn more to God, but what it sounds like is you're turning there, but you're just not fully going there.
I
Right.
just almost don't let myself.
Yeah.
Like it's too scary.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was having a prayer last night and I was in a funk last night. And I went to the premiere of this movie. It was awesome. I was there with my producer and a bunch of friends. And I think the movie kind of put me in a funk because it was really emotional. And in the movie, you know, there's a lot of parts about fatherhood and about, they had 4 failed IVFs and they ended up adopting, and a lot of really, really touching scenes. And I was really moved. And then after the film, I, I didn't even know what was wrong. I was just kind of felt like I was in a bad mood, and I was just kind of like chalked it up to, oh, that movie wrecked me, right? But then I get home and I realized I was so affected because it was just a reminder that, like, I don't have kids. I don't know when that thing in my life is going to change. And I just became really, really emotional. And my buddy that I was with called me and he's like, "Hey, are you okay? I feel like something was a little bit off." And we talked about it and I was tearing up. And then at night, I found myself in prayer and I felt like I don't have the energy to get into this again. Right. And so I literally said in my prayer, like, God, like, I'm grateful that my friend reached out and checked in on me. I'm fine. I'm going to be fine, but I don't have the energy to get into this right now.
Yeah.
But we'll see it for our next session, basically.
Catch you on the next time. You'll remember.
Right. But to me, the irony is God knows exactly what we're going through. He knows the depths of our vulnerability. He knows the absolute depths of our soul and our suffering. Yet sometimes we're like, I don't want to let him in. I don't want to tell him. I don't want to confess these things. I don't want to make it known. But he already knows, right?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes the reality is we don't want to confess to ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't want to, when we verbalize something, when we articulate it, it makes it way more real.
Yeah.
Is that maybe a similar issue with your husband? Like, obviously he's not omniscient like God, but is there sometimes a concern that, man, he probably knows I feel this way, or I struggle with this, or this is hard for me, but if I actually come out and say it, then we got to talk about it. We got to deal with it. I got to kind of look in the mirror and face that demon. Is that kind of part of it?
Yeah. I grew up with a dad who's a relationship coach and he focuses on marriages. And so growing up, he was great to teach us a lot about ourselves. And, I love the color code, the Enneagram, the zodiac, like I love all those things because I want to know more about myself. But one of the things that I've learned in doing some of the work with him is that I am a little bit avoidant when it comes to
feelings.
Yeah. And I, we talk about anxiety, and people will either go over or under with anxious feelings. I'm definitely pretty anxious. And, going under would be laying in bed and Netflix and just vegging out. And people that go over, it's like, I got to do more. I got to be more. And I think both are really detrimental to our spirit, because I think I've just always had this need to prove that I am capable, I'm strong, I am good. I'm a good girl. I do all the things that I'm supposed to do. And at the end of the day, I think I'm nervous for certain people in my life to see me break or to see me broken. And that is something that with a spouse can't be,
Right.
It's when we do have vulnerable moments that we connect and we deepen our relationship. And can I throw a question back to you? What is that like, having to be vulnerable with, I have my one person that I can open up to. I'm just so curious to hear from your perspective what's that like, to have to open your heart up and be vulnerable when you're on a second, third, and fourth date.
Yeah. I think to me, it's about timing. Like, I don't want to go and just tell every person I meet everything about me. But what I've found is that when I'm just generally open and I don't have walls up, it makes it easier to connect.
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, it's more like I'm willing to go anywhere with anyone, but I need to see that they want to go there.
Yeah.
And so I often don't initiate vulnerability. Sometimes I'll give a little piece here or there, but for the most part, I want to go somewhere deep if somebody wants to go with me, And so I also think because it's somewhat practiced, it doesn't exhaust me.
Yeah.
I just view it as, to me, it's not part of dating, it's part of humanity.
Yeah.
Right? It's part of connecting with people. And to me, the better you are at dating, the better you are at friendship. The better you are at friendship, the better you are at being an employee. The better you are at being an employee, the better you are at being a spouse. Like, it's all connected, relationships. Sure. And so to me, I'm like, I don't want to walk through life with walls that people need to climb.
Yeah.
To me, it's more like a door. So if somebody knocks, I'll be like,
open.
Yeah. You can, and I might not swing it open. Yeah, come in. But I'll creak it open and I'll be like, I guess, if we can slowly walk in,
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I kind of surprise myself because in person, I'm actually like such an open book. I'm chatty, I'm open. I want to talk about all the things. I feel like I, in a lot of circumstances, have the opportunity to like talk to people about their vulnerable and their hard. And maybe that's the case for a lot of people, that there's just those deep parts that are hard to crack open.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm wanting to do this year. Like, I took a night away at the beginning of the year just to like reset. I wanted to start the year on a fresh foot. And the word that keeps coming up for me is surrender. I'm surrendering to the process of this podcast. And what I'm finding is that it turns into exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah.
I used to be like, oh, I hope the guest doesn't cancel. I hope I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it needs to be is what it will be. Yeah. And then surrendering in my relationships. In the ones that matter the most to me, the deep ones where it causes uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
Those are the things I want to surrender this year and just open myself up on. Your last podcast guest, Rachel, whatever Rachel is doing, I need more of her. She's just open,
whatever her
and
diet
tender.
is. Yeah.
And she has no agenda. Like her episode touched me very deeply. Yeah. I've had the prayer at the end of her episode. It was so tender.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but I've had this impression to pray with my guests. And for some reason, I'm too scared. Like that feels so vulnerable to be
Yeah.
like, hey, could we have a moment?
Right.
And I want more Rachel. I want
Right.
more surrender. I want more just open, tender,
Yeah.
how you let conversations breathe. I just love all of it, and it's great.
Yeah. It's interesting with her that, we didn't plan to do that. I don't normally do that. But she offered it, and I thought, okay, well, we'll cut right before, but then it was so moving. I was like, yeah, let's for sure keep this in.
You felt that she wasn't on camera. That's just who she is.
Yeah.
And I just really admire that quality in people, to be so willing to be vulnerable and spiritually, that is something that I'm working on, is to
Yeah.
be able to sit in that even
Yeah.
when
I think
feel
it's hard.
nervous.
I think when you struggle with overthinking, it's hard to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
because,
That's me.
right. Because if you're overthinking, you're like, how is this vulnerability going to be viewed?
Yeah.
Is it, sometimes there's even the thought of, is this maybe a little bit performative?
Yeah.
Am I being vulnerable so people can see how vulnerable I am?
Right. And I don't want that.
Of course.
One of the things I've loved learning the most about myself is, have you heard of the concept of like highly sensitive people?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a book, read it, took the test. I'm like off the charts on the highly sensitive people. And for those that don't know what it is, it's basically like, so that in a herd of people, there are like 20% that receive more data, and they were like the warning people for the herd. Like they're the ones keeping everyone safe because they pick up more data. And I feel like I am that. So I'm highly sensitive in certain things, and I giggle at some of the things like sounds. I am highly sensitive, and you can imagine with 5 kids, I like walk around with my noise canceling headphones in just so I can stay sane. But with being highly sensitive, I feel like it's just one of the things that I have to deal with in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I like. It can be a superpower, is what I'm trying to say. Wait, what did you say right before this? I lost my train of thought. You were talking about just vulnerability, and there was something that you said right at the end. I'm like, I was going to tie that up with a bow.
We were talking about how sometimes it can feel like, am I being performative?
Oh, right.
Right.
And so that's exactly it. I'm the person that I go to a party and I come home and I lay in bed for hours after, and I'm like, everything I said. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder how they perceive this and this and this. And so that's one thing I'm learning to master. Sorry, that's what I was going to say. Okay. Is that performative, that overthinking. That is something that I need to take control of and sit in and work on, because otherwise it runs me. My little brain just runs me. I'm reading another book called The Liberated Mind. It talks about the dictator, that's in our brain, and our thoughts mess us up sometimes. They're kind of working against us. And I want to peel back that curtain on the Wizard of Oz. I want to see the dictator in there and just put him in his place. No, we're good.
Yeah.
I'm working on that. It's going to be a lifelong thing, but no.
Yeah, I think another element that is required to be really vulnerable and to be, a good podcast host is just being present, right? Because when you're constantly thinking about, is this an interesting thing I'm saying? Is it funny? Is it,
how will it be perceived?
Is it meaningful? You can't really be there.
In the moment.
Yeah. And I think it's such a good analog for all of your other relationships.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking to your husband and you're trying to be vulnerable, but you're thinking, oh, he's going to think I'm dumb, or he's going to view me as weak. And if he views me as weak, what will that say for how he views me as a mother, and blah, 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 blah. And you just start to spiral.
Right.
But if you can just be like, let me just be with you.
Yeah.
And be weak. Let me be vulnerable. Let me be in shambles.
Yeah.
And just sit with that.
Yeah. That's something you do that really well on your podcast. And I love to see how you are sitting in conversations with people, because that's exactly what you pick up, is that you're here, you're present, you're in it. And that's definitely, I feel like I'm getting there. Do you know what I mean? I'm trusting myself to just sit, and it will be what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that's my mantra. And that's going to be my mantra. Surrender.
Right.
And just let it be. Beatles.
Yeah.
Let it be.
Exactly. I wanted to ask this question. This is obviously something I'll never really understand because I'm a male. But this idea of mom guilt, right?
Yeah.
This pervasive emotion that a lot of women struggle with that have kids and are also doing other things,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's work or a hobby or just other relationships, friendships. How have you, and what's the age range of your kids?
Yeah. So I have 2 to 10,
Okay.
5 in 8 years.
Okay.
And we do have a set of twins in there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got quite the brood.
We do.
So yeah, how do you balance finding purpose outside of motherhood? And maybe for you, it is an enormous part of your purpose, right? But finding purpose in your podcast, in your friendship, in your business, how do you find that balance of doing that and not feeling like, oh, this is taking away from being a mother, this is taking away from my other purpose? How do you find that balance?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I have wrestled and wrestled with this over, the 10 years. We just hit our 10-year mark with our business, and I've wrestled very hard with it. It's something that I don't think that I've mastered by any means,
Yeah.
but what I've felt my heart torn in 2 places, and I've talked to a lot of women who feel this. What grounds me in it is that the experiences that I've had to start the business or to start the podcast, they're undeniably powerful to me, and they're undeniably personal to me. And so I have to fall back on that. I believe in a God that can, deliver information, revelation, to me that I can receive. And so I have to trust that that's for a reason. And I fall back on that a lot. But one thing that I feel like I do struggle with is just I'll get, so I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get help 2 days a week and I'm going to work. And then as soon as I get in that, I'm like, but I'm missing it. I'm missing all of it. I'm missing all of it. And what I've just come to realize is that I am the best mom when I've got 2 days in the office to get my creative outlet, because I can get back to your point. I can be present with them.
And that's part of your form of self-care.
It really is.
We'll call it, yeah.
To be able to get dressed and to go in and to be social and to work on something that I love, that is self-care.
It makes you more confident.
Yes.
Right.
And it makes me a happier mom. I feel that I have certain, maybe talents, I guess you'd call them, or abilities or interests that are unique to me. And if I don't do the podcast, if I don't do these things that I want to do, I feel like watch other people do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been on Instagram, but you're like, and I will get triggered by something. And I think it's because, with podcasting, that's how it used to be. I'd be scrolling and I'd see a podcast, and I, not like in a super negative way, but I'd be like triggered. I'm like all of a sudden folding laundry in the middle of the day and like got this stir about me. And like, I need to do something. And then I'd go make a spreadsheet and I'd create all these things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And that was detracting from my motherhood. And so I just hope that anyone out there listening that feels a tug on their heart, you're worth it to act on it. And the pursuit of motherhood has been more fulfilling than anything else in my life. But that, with the other things that I feel called to do, has made the happiest me.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's essential. And I think it's really important for your kids to see, oh, mom has dreams.
Yeah.
Right? Mom has things she wants to accomplish, and she's out there and she's doing them. And, my mom really loved dance and was always doing dance classes and was teaching dance classes. And she was an art person, so she had a bunch of projects always going. And I never view that as like, detracting from her motherhood.
Yeah.
I just viewed it as, oh, this is awesome. Mom has interests and hobbies and passions. And so, as a relationship coach, a lot of times I'm talking to women that are struggling with, they're in a really challenging marriage and they're feeling like divorce is probably the right answer, but they're feeling like this is going to destroy my kids. And sometimes I find myself telling them, like, I think when in doubt, if you can fix the marriage, if you can restore the love, do it. But I tell them, your kids need to see a happy mom.
Yeah.
They need to see a mom that is full of life, They need to see a mom that's treated well.
Yeah.
They need to see a mom that isn't walking around crestfallen all the time.
Yeah.
They need to see that life in her.
Yeah.
And so a divorce obviously is hard, and it's gonna pull the kids in different directions. It's gonna come with its own challenges. But to me, a miserable mom is not okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I love your point that our kids are watching.
Yeah.
And, I think about what I want my kids, my girls especially, I have
Mhm.
3 girls, what I want for them to know, and it's that they are capable to dream big and that they could do anything that they wanted. And it's fun. My girls have been going to bed listening to my podcast,
Mhm.
and they're excited for me with the guests.
Yeah.
And I love that they can see me building something because I think it will help them understand that they're capable of building anything that they want to.
Yeah, it's really empowering.
Yeah.
That's cool. What is, as your kids get older and they're starting to become kind of preteens,
Yeah.
what is the thing you're like the most nervous about as they enter, that teenager period of life?
Yeah. So my 10-year-old, I feel like we're starting to taste the hormones. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, here they come. She's fantastic. But I just think about myself at that age
Mhm.
and just how eager I was to please,
Mhm.
how deeply I wanted to be loved, to feel love. And I had a wonderful childhood.
Mhm.
My relationship with my body
Mhm.
during those years, I just so badly wish I could take my 32-year-old brain that I have now and give it to that cute girl, that sweet little innocent girl. And so as my own daughters approach that age, I just want to impart all that wisdom. You're enough.
Mhm.
You are beautiful. You're everything that you need to be.
Yeah.
Right here, how you are.
Yeah.
It's cool. You can, once you're a parent, you can see that clearly.
Mhm.
The love that I feel that a God has for me,
Yeah.
I now understand in just a small way because I feel it for my kids.
So you love yourself more easily because of how easily you love your kids.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
you it's infinite, and
Yeah.
there's just nothing you wouldn't do for them. There's nothing that they couldn't become. Like you just have all the faith in the world, and it hurts me to think back of my insecurities at that same age,
Mhm.
just not feeling enough. I feel like I'm kind of an old soul, like I always have been, and I just remember being young and those early dating relationships, just the hurt that come from those. And I'm like, oh, here they go. They're within 5 years, they're going to be doing that.
They're
And
pretty darn inevitable.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, we don't want our kids to go through hard things. We don't want to make them hurt or anything like that. But I'm realizing how necessary it is for our growth is to, going back, stretching and growing and allowing them to pass through things that are difficult.
Yeah. And, I tell people that are going through heartbreak all the time, and maybe it feels like empty words when you're in so much pain, but I tell people when you're in an extreme amount of emotional pain, whether it's from rejection or loss or grief, it's kind of a good thing because it reminds you, kind of like that, what's it called, the frisson?
Frisson. Yeah. It's a French word.
It's kind of this reminder that you're functioning with an enormous heart.
Yeah.
Right? It's a reminder that you yearn for something really beautiful and really good. And so it sucks, yes.
Yeah.
But it's also an opportunity to say, well, why am I hurting so much? I'm hurting so much because I want love more than anything.
Yeah.
And I want to feel seen, and I want to see somebody else, and I want to connect. And these are all things I want. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to like beat yourself up because you're feeling dejected or you're feeling that way. It doesn't erase the pain.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a helpful reminder.
Yeah. I feel like you're maybe the same in that you have like a pretty deep inner world. Do you feel that way?
Sure. Yeah. I've got kingdoms and empires.
Yeah. I feel like I have, and I've always had just like a very deep inner world. And so those rejections, all those things that you go through, they maybe hit deeper. I don't know. I just remember constantly being like so aware of everything, around me. And, just going back to the girls, I hope to be, and I have great parents. We talked very openly in my house, and I hope to mirror that. I hope to have that in our home where they can talk to me and we can discuss the things that are on their heart and that are weighing them. And
what would you, if you could go back and talk to maybe 13-year-old you and kind of talk to her about her insecurities, maybe her body, maybe dating, maybe boys, with all the knowledge you have, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I liked your point about like the power that you have, going back to what you just said. Like I kept thinking of like the receptacle that I have to hold love in me.
Mm-hmm.
It would make it hurt when it would happen, but then I have all this capacity that was left to fill. So if I could go back to her, there's so much that I wish I could shake her and just be like, you are capable, you are enough, you are beautiful. I wish I could tell her that, I think I've always been in a rush for every milestone that I've ever hit. I got married at 19. I graduated college at 21. I had 5 kids by 30. I'm just in a rush. I wish I could tell her that there's no need to rush.
Right.
There's no race here. I had 3 speeding tickets my senior year of high school, and it kind of sent my whole college experience off on the wrong foot because I actually couldn't drive my freshman year of college. And
you're like, I guess I got to get married. I can't drive.
I needed someone to drive me. No, my husband tells a funny joke about how I used to ride a Pokemon skateboard. Our parents live like less than a mile apart, and I couldn't drive my freshman year, so I would ride my Pokemon skateboard over to his house. But I wish I could just tell her that there's not a race. There's no rush for all this. And I heard a quote once that was like, I craved permanence. And I think I've always craved just permanence. Like I wanted the relation. I was done, dating. I wanted the forever relationship and I wanted the kids here and it couldn't happen fast enough.
Right.
Now I'm 32 and I have 5 kids and I've been married for 13 years. And it's just something that that 12-year-old girl was scared that she wouldn't ever get it. And so it was a race. Luckily, I didn't race. We dated for quite a while, but I got a good one, even with a 19-year-old brain.
Right. Sometimes you just get lucky.
I did in that regard for sure.
Yeah. Then what would 42-year-old Sarah have to tell you right now that would maybe be helpful, you think? And it's a hard question because you're like, well, that's me. How would future me give current me advice? But what do you think?
So funny. The first thing when you ask that is slow down.
Yeah.
Slow.
So it's the same.
down.
It's the same advice.
It's the same advice.
Yeah.
Which that's really interesting.
Yeah.
You think I'd learn, but it's just and to be present and slow down. And what's in front of you right now is what matters.
Yeah.
And just do not be afraid.
Yeah.
What's yours in the world is going to come to you. And I don't have to be the big puppet master orchestrating it all. I've already got someone doing that for me, this God that I believe in. And so that's where that just mostly the fear. Like, we're good. Every day, just take it for what it is.
Yeah, 100%. Have you struggled with, I think everyone struggles with this in some capacity, but what has been your connection with depression over the years? Depressive thoughts, depressive episodes. Maybe it's chronic, maybe it's situational, but what has been, your relationship with it?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. Going back to, these tests that my dad will give us. There's a character strengths test. And when I took that test, my top 5, one of them is zest for life. So I feel zesty. Like I love and like curiosity and love of learning. Like I have felt very up that way and just grateful for this life. But I've not talked about this, but I've had extremely hard postpartum periods.
Yeah.
And
with each child?
They progressively got worse.
Really?
So my first one was the easiest. And then my second one was twins. Got a little harder, but it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
The 4th and 5th, like hard.
Mm-hmm.
Very, like, when I look back on it now, I was very depressed. I think it's that was very chemical, coming off of a pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny, the wrestle that I think I had with medication. I needed it, and
Yeah.
I've never taken it, and I desperately think I needed it.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing this because I hope to put an end to a stigma there that would have been very helpful chemically for me at that time. But in those dark moments, I have earned an empathy, or I have gained an empathy, I think,
Mm-hmm.
for what a true depression
Yeah.
would feel like, because I was there.
Yeah. What is a good way to sort of describe, you talk about, I really love how you said you feel like you have this deep inner world,
Mhm.
right? Whether it's your soul or your brain or your heart, it's all kind of
Mhm.
connected. In that deep inner world, can you kind of describe what depression looks like, whether it's deep sadness or whether it's a numbness or whether it's just a certain fleeting despondency? What is it? What does it look like? What's the landscape of that?
Yeah. When you ask that, what I picture in my mind, and people describe it as a dark cloud,
Uh-huh.
but I literally feel that, like, on my brain. It was almost blocking my peripheral vision upwards.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't know why I feel that way. It's a hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
The zest that I normally feel felt gone. It
Yeah.
felt absent. And mine, I don't know. I'll be super vulnerable. Mine's a little angry. Like,
Uh-huh.
that state of myself has been maybe more angry than self-loathing.
Mm.
And that might be called something different. Like, a therapist out there could tell me, like, that's actually not depression, but
Well, also I think anger is a secondary emotion.
yeah.
Right. A lot of times we're angry because we're so sad.
Yeah.
Or we don't
Yeah,
want to
that's a
deal
good
we don't
point.
want to deal with something else. So anger is an easier outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's how I would describe it, is just almost my connection upward felt blocked, because
Mhm.
that's usually where I derive my hope.
Right.
And again, going back to my inability to be vulnerable in those moments, and I did just come to my knees. I need help. Like, I need to crawl out of this hole.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing to me. But 6 weeks after each baby, I was able to emerge from that.
Okay.
But it's a long 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And for other women out there, I see them because it's longer than 6 weeks. And for some women out there, it hits them after.
Mm-hmm.
You could have an 18-month-old baby and you
Right.
still may be experiencing postpartum. I am reminded by my little baby hairs.
Uh-huh.
I have a 2-year-old, but
Yeah.
I still have all these baby hairs.
Right.
And the postpartum chemical depletion that you had from your pregnancy can still be a real factor in that. So
was that really scary after you'd experienced it much worse with your fourth? Was it really scary having your fifth child?
yeah, it's
Being like, I don't want to get back in that hole.
yeah. So we've always wanted a big family.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled a little bit with getting pregnant, not terribly, but my number 5 was a surprise, like a wanted surprise. But my last 2 babies are just over 18 months apart.
Okay.
And so it happened before I was ready.
Oh, okay. So you're still kind of in the thick of it.
Yeah. I mean, I had an 11-month-old when I found out that I was pregnant with my next.
Yeah.
And so maybe that was a good thing, because had I been given too much time with my overthinking brain, I probably would have been like, wait, I don't know if this is a good idea. Yeah. But yeah, the going, it's weird. With pregnancy, any mother could probably attest, you forget. You forget how hard it is to be pregnant. Right. You forget how, up and down delivery, you forget.
Is it because you're, with the excitement, you're just kind of infused with joy and purpose?
Yeah. I want to study this, or I want someone to, because the moment you have your baby, I can't remember the delivery. I had all C-sections. Mm-hmm. They're miserable. Yeah. They're not fun. Yeah. And it's amazing. The second that baby comes out, it's like the euphoria just masks it all. It's like a cloud.
Yeah.
forget, like
Right,
forget
right,
what
right.
happened.
Yeah.
Because once you hold that baby, doesn't matter. Would have done it again, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. You never see women carrying a baby like writhing in pain,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm sure it happens sometimes, but I feel like, they're crying because they're overwhelmed with joy and everything, and they're handed the baby, and you never see them like wincing because they're
Yeah.
still in pain. It's like, it's like they're overtaken with euphoria. It's actually
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. I feel like,
I
again,
want to have a baby.
a gift. You will one day.
No, but I want to make a baby. I want to be
You want to
pregnant.
make a
I wanna
baby.
get pregnant.
Yeah. No, what's cool is you will get to experience that. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see that from my husband's perspective. You know what I mean? He has to deal with a lot of the hard. Luckily, his number one character strength is forgiveness and mercy. So I'm like super lucky because he forgives the grumpy Sarah very easily. But I just think that that's another gift that we get, kind of can't make perfect sense of it, but we get to forget. And with the depression, that was definitely the case. Like I didn't even think about it because I was already pregnant and here we go again.
Right.
And it's funny, you'd think I would have been more prepared in like, okay, we need to make sure that I'm doing these things and getting up and getting out. But it almost got harder because I've got 4 other kids that need me. And yes, it's a hard that comes with so much good. And now 2 years out of it, I'm like, like I kind of have forgotten.
Right.
It's good to be reminded.
What's your advice for women that are really struggling with postpartum besides, maybe for some medication is the answer, for some not, but besides that, what did you do that kind of helped you maybe remove that block and remove those blinders?
Yeah. Couple of things here. I think being willing to tell someone is huge.
Was that hard talking to your husband about that?
Yeah, he was great. He was really great. Like, just there was a special moment where he came to me. He's like, let's get some help.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this together. And that help ended up being it's funny. My dad's a life coach and I go see him when I need stuff because I'm like, help me. So he's like, let's get your dad. Let's get your dad over here. And had some really good conversations with him. But I'll tell you the number one, there's 2 things that I think that changed my world and I could do it myself. Exercise. It's hard when you're postpartum to want to.
Right.
But you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I started by just walking, like at a brisk pace with my baby in the baggiest clothes that I could find.
Yeah.
And so walking and then being outside. Those 2 things, it became like a very sacred place. We put a mirror in our basement and a set of weights. And I had an app and that was my sanctuary every day.
Yeah.
And mental health wise, that's continued to be such a critical part. Since I've had that 5th baby, I don't know that I've missed a day of just that time. And it's funny, sometimes I don't feel like working out and that walk outside is still my saving grace.
Yeah.
Just the self-care. I need to go on my walk.
Yeah.
Let mom go on her walk. She's grumpy.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think you have to figure out what works for you and kind of be obsessive about it.
Yeah, what would it be for you?
When I'm postpartum.
Or when you're low.
When I'm low. I think over the years I've found that luckily for myself, my depression has never lasted too long. It's usually, it's from a breakup, it's from rejection, it's from just the trials, vicissitudes of life. But, sometimes when they stretch out longer, it starts to get scary, right?
Yeah.
Because it starts to feel like, well, it's usually I'm depressed for a couple days or maybe a week, but now it's been a really hard month and that starts to feel scary, right? But I just go back on, for me, there are so many little outlets that I have that bring me joy and bring me purpose. And I'm not always in the mood for one or the other, right? I know exercise does the same thing for me, but I'm not always in the mood, right?
Yeah.
But I know I'm very much an extroverted people person. And so when I'm low, I go to my people,
Yeah.
and luckily I don't have the proclivity to self-isolate
Yeah.
because I'm just not interested in it.
Yeah.
That's where to
You
me
need your people.
I know depression, the bad thing will get me is if I decide to self-isolate.
Yeah.
And so to me, vulnerability and connecting with friends and family is my lifeblood.
Yeah.
And so I have so many hobbies and interests, and sometimes those things work for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately I need something that gives me purpose and fulfillment, and I feel like if you have all of those, it's just hard to stay down.
Yeah.
It's hard to stay in that pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm remembering now is every morning during that newborn phase, like
Mhm.
I would either strap the baby to me or I would put the baby right at my feet and I'd go play the
Yeah.
piano.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just in my front room, and it does something for me that way, boosts my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that could be another helpful thing. Like you were saying, people,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to, like, it's almost like you got to shine a light on it. And so that people can be aware, your close people can help you because, yeah, sometimes you need to be pulled out
Yeah.
of it a little bit with the help of
Yeah.
your people.
Yeah. And sometimes, listen, I love the metaphor of depression, or just maybe it's not even depression, but it's a rough time you're going through.
Yeah.
Right. I view it as, you're down in this pit, you're down in this hole. And to me, unless you invite people in, unless you tell people you're in the hole, there's no good Samaritan that's
Yeah.
coming along, especially if your hole is, you're just in your bed.
Yeah.
Maybe your husband notices, but
Yeah.
sometimes you need people that are not in your immediate circle,
Yeah.
because people in your immediate circle just kind of get used to whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And so if you can reach out to another friend and be like, hey, I'm kind of just struggling,
Yeah.
to me, it gives them the opportunity to reach down and pull you out.
Yeah.
And also the beautiful thing there is it gives them purpose.
Yeah.
And it just forms connection and forms bond. Some of my
Yeah.
closest friends, the reason we're so close is because we've pulled each other out of pits.
Yeah.
One of my close friends, we became really close when he was going through a divorce, and he just needed a friend. He needed somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And we would talk late at night. We'd go get food. And I just remember thinking, like, this is so meaningful for me as a friend to just be able to be there for him. And now we kind of have that bond, even though he's in a beautiful, wonderful marriage now and he's happy. We've been in the trenches together.
Yeah.
We've pulled each other out. And now I feel safe if I'm in a trench to be like, bro, like I need you.
Let's chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think these experiences that we go through, whatever it may be, that we deal with, I think it gives us an empathy.
Mm-hmm.
So this postpartum depression, and then I've also, experienced a miscarriage, and those two things have given me an empathy. A lot of times we'll see someone who we maybe have an indicator that they're struggling,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, oh, let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
And having been in the trenches on those two issues, I know what's helpful now.
Well, answer me this, because people love to say that, let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
When you're in the trenches, do you ever let anybody know that you need something?
No.
Okay. So what do you, how do you help as that friend?
Yeah. What I've learned from my experiences is you've just got to show up.
Yeah.
And I have an aunt who heard that we had miscarried a baby really unexpectedly and didn't ask, didn't call. She showed up on my porch with a meal and a hug. I remember being like in my pajamas, just not in a place and red eyes. And she opened the door and just, thank you for seeing me.
Yeah.
And so many friends that just showed up. So now knowing that those moments were so special to me, my number one thing is we have to be watching for those that aren't doing good, or doing well. And we have to be in tune. We have to be present, and we have to notice. And then we've got to figure out how to show up. And a lot of times it was with my kids. Let me take them. You need time.
Yeah.
Let me take your kids. We're going to go to the aquarium. My mom, my mother-in-law were amazing. I've got the kids. You work on you. You heal you. And we've got this covered. That helps a lot. But I just think showing up in a way that they are, and also not second guessing when you have that prompting to do a good thing. Overthinker here. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to impose. I want just be in tune with yourself, with your promptings that you get, and then act.
Yeah. Yeah. And think about it. If you turn the tables, are you ever upset if someone like brings you food and you already ate or whatever? It's the sentiment. It's knowing that they're thinking about you, that they care about you, they're going the extra mile. And I'm personally never bugged when somebody texts me to catch up or wants to reach out, see how I'm doing. Yes, sometimes I'm incredibly busy and maybe the timing isn't ideal, but I'm always grateful.
Yeah.
And so I think most people are that way.
Yeah.
And so I try to do that with texting, because a lot of times a friend will pop into my head.
Yeah.
And it's not like I have this grand vision of, I know how to help him.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, I'm thinking about him.
Yeah.
So let me just reach out.
Yeah. Act on all those promptings. I try to, of course, not perfect. And I think it's cool. You use voice notes, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is a really great tool. Sometimes we don't have the time to text it out. I think back in the day, it was like a phone call or a voicemail. And it seems harder sometimes to connect that way, but a voice note or a Marco Polo, sometimes where you can really be like, I'm thinking about you. Good luck with this. I've found as a musician, as a pianist, that just being acknowledged or recognized really goes a far way. I played in the Roof Restaurant for years and years. And I've since then have played, at events in Salt Lake frequently where, big name people will be. And it is so amazing who I remember that has just acknowledged me.
Yeah, yeah.
I see you. Thank you, or appreciate you. So I think sometimes just acting on that prompting and letting people know, I see you, I appreciate you, I'm thinking of you, that helps.
Yeah. 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 I love voice notes, especially because I know when somebody's going through a really hard time, they don't want to answer the phone.
It's true. Or the door.
Right. Yeah. They don't want to talk necessarily because they're like, if I talk, I'm going to cry.
Right. And it's vulnerable.
Yeah. And it can feel embarrassing. And so I like to take the pressure off and be like, hey, you don't need to respond with a voice note.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you and I love you and I got you. And, if you want to text back, great. But you don't have to.
Yeah.
This is just me, sending you a verbal postcard.
Yeah. I think that just no text back needed. Just want you to know.
Yeah.
I think that goes a really long way.
Yeah.
When I think about how overwhelming it can be in those times, as word spread about the loss that we had, it does get a little overwhelming. Oh, who knows? They all know. Okay, I've got a million text messages to answer. I'm so grateful. But that one line, no need to text back. That helps.
That's what I do anytime. When somebody loses like their mom dies or something, and when it's somebody really close to you, even if you don't know them that well, you're like, I feel like I should reach out. But then you feel like, but they're probably getting bombarded with texts. Yeah. That's when my go-to is I just say what's on my heart and I say, please, you don't need to respond. You don't even need to heart this or like it.
Yeah.
Just know I'm thinking about you or whatever.
It goes such a long way.
Yeah.
I love that. And I when you've been in something hard, you get the perspective. And so sometimes I just have to remember that the hard things that we go through are giving us those perspectives to go forward in a way where we can, whether that's helping other people, it's all, I hope, for good in the long run.
Yeah. Going back to creativity, there's a quote I want to read to you that I love so much. It's by Stephen Pressfield. And he said, all creative endeavor is holy.
Mm.
And I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I love the idea that any creative endeavor I do, whether it's a song or a poem or a podcast, is holy.
I love that. That's powerful. What comes to mind for me, and being in the position that I've been in with being this podcast host, I've gotten to sit with some of my very favorite musicians across and just watch them do their work. And what I've surmised is that the talent people's talents are incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking just music, but if you go on TikTok for a couple of minutes, you can just see the vast variety of talent. And it's like, for me, certain talents are unfathomable, like singing. Like I look at some of these singers that I've had on and I'm just like, I don't get how that works.
You're not much of a singer. You're mostly...
I'm not. I wish. Just a pianist.
Yeah.
Just a pianist. But they feel God-given. And it feels, there's a scripture in the Bible that I love. It talks about our gifts, and that the gifts are for the benefit of the whole. Right. They are to profit everybody. And so I just love looking at the world now through other people's gifts. And it's holy because when you're choosing to act on the gift, there's another scripture in the Bible, it's like, let your light shine unto the world. A city that's set on a hill cannot be hid. Don't hide it under a bushel. The people that are choosing to act on their talents and to put them on display and to use them for good, for inspiration, for service, that feels holy. That feels like a holy practice, and it feels like something that they would have been given from God. And when they act on it, it's incredible.
Yeah. Another one I love is Rick Rubin said, any piece of art is an offering to God.
Love that.
Yeah. It's such a better way of viewing it. And it takes out of the equation your ego. It takes out of the equation commerce, marketing, PR. It just becomes, this is my offering to God.
Yeah.
And maybe that offering will do better if I throw a marketing team at it. Maybe it'll do better if I sell it as a course.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, my ego can't be involved if it's an offering to God.
Yeah.
Right. If it's a holy act.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful. And what I love about that too is I think sometimes when we think about art, we think about like 5 or 6 things, right? We think like, I don't know, theater, poetry, music, writing, dance maybe, right? And to me, I'm like, I think conversation is art.
Yeah.
I think friendship is art.
Yeah.
I think how you love your husband when you don't have much to give at the end of the day, there's an art to it.
Yeah.
It's not a scientific procedure.
Yeah.
It's a creative thing.
Yeah.
And so I love thinking, well, maybe I'm not an artist. Maybe I don't have art to offer the world, to offer to God, but maybe my art is loving my kids.
Yeah.
And doing that in a beautiful, creative, new way. And maybe your daughter comes to you in middle school in a few years and she gets rejected by a boy. And all of a sudden you have this chance as a mom to be creative and say, well, this is how I would deal with it. I'm sorry your heart hurts. And that conversation is this little creative thing, this little offering to God. And that's so cool.
Yeah. I think as parents, I grew up with parents that pointed out these gifts in me, helping me see not just the ones that show up at a talent show, like, oh, you're a great pianist, but hey, you are a really great conversationalist, or hey, you are a really in tune friend, or whatever it might be. I think as parents, we have this great responsibility and this great privilege to help our kids understand what it is that are their gifts. Showing them and teaching them and telling them what they're good at gives them confidence. Yeah. And I love doing that for my kids. And I work with a lot of students too. And it's funny, but I feel like I work really well with tween students. Like that's like my bread and butter is like a teenage student that like wants to chord for themselves. while they sing.
Yeah.
I can help them do great piano arrangements. I'm not like a classical pianist. And so it's funny though, because I'll encourage these students to use their music. You know, let's put together a number for church. Let's get you playing in the recital. And there's this hesitancy to share their art, to your point, because they've made it about self. Well, what if I look bad? What if I mess up? What if I get sweaty hands? What if my leg shakes? And my dad's advice to me has stuck with me all these years, but arrows outwards. You know, if your art is for everyone else and not for just yourself. And sometimes our art's for ourselves. You know, I worship that way. And sometimes I'm sitting there and the music that I'm making is for maybe selfish for me to connect. But in so many other ways, if we can, especially if we can help our kids get their arrows outwards, if we can build the confidence and if we can show them, you know, what we see in them, what they're good at, I think it gives them the wings and the confidence to fly.
Yeah. Okay, I got a really hard question for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
I want you to really think about this.
Okay.
So, taking away your accomplishments, your abilities as a pianist, your podcast, the things you're good at, the things have achieved in your life, what do you love the most about yourself?
This is hard. I think what I hope to be remembered by, or what I hope people will associate with me, is being generous. I want to be generous with my time, with my talents, with my money, with my resources, with my connections. I want people to remember that I'm generous. I love, I have a genuine love for people. I am very moderate middle in a lot of my views because I see both sides.
Right.
I want to be a bridge from one side to the other. And I love that about myself. This is a hard question. I don't know that I've ever answered this before. And I love that I love deep.
Yeah.
Like I love that I care deeply. I love deeply. And that I truly, genuinely am in, like, with people. I want to connect.
Yeah. You know, and obviously I just met you and I've seen a couple of your podcasts, but I can feel that that's true. I can feel that you do give generously and you love deeply, and it's such a, I don't know that it's a rare thing. I think most people love deeply, but I think a lot of people struggle to allow themselves to, and to really go there. And when you find people like that, they're amazing. You want to be around them. They're magnetic, you know?
Can I ask you the same?
Yeah.
I want to know what your answer would be about yourself.
I think it changes, you know? I think sometimes you're really proud of one thing, and at other times you're really like, wow, I really love that about myself, depending on the state of your self-esteem at the time, right? But I think mine's similar, where I love that at least I think I can, and I feel this way. I love that I can make people comfortable, and I can put people at ease, and I can, you know, sometimes it's making people laugh, sometimes it's making people feel seen, but I feel like that comes easy to me and I enjoy it. And I love what you said. I'm going to start using it. I feel like I love generously, you know, and I feel like there's a tenacity to my love. You know, I think none of us are impervious to moments of hopelessness and despondency, and, you know, your love for other people and for yourself can wane, but I feel like it can't be taken out of me.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some tenacity there to just love until the bitter end. And then at the end, it won't be bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. No, I see that. I see that from you. And that comes across on your show. You hold space for people.
Thank you.
That's a huge strength I
Yeah.
see.
And you know what? It's a weird thing because I'm not even confident in how I would describe like how to create space for somebody,
Yeah.
you know?
That's because it's your gift
I guess.
and it's innate.
Yeah.
And that's, it's the same as some of these musicians where I'm like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
It's innate.
Right.
And there's something really beautiful about something coming easy
Right.
for you, because the things that come easy for you don't come easy for me. And we
Yeah.
all need each other.
Yeah. The idea of even learning how to play the piano sounds so difficult to me,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, that's really cool. All right. I know you just asked me, but I love to sort of wrap up the podcast asking if you have any questions for me. And you're a podcaster, so I know you got some.
Oh, I've got questions. No, let me think for just a second. There's a couple different things I've had on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you can tell. So I've listened to your podcast, and I'm hoping that you can help me understand, or the audience understand, what it feels like. That craving permanence.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been something? And to not have, the answer or the person come into your life yet.
Mm-hmm.
What does that feel like? And how do you keep your hope, your connection, your spirits high when you continually have to keep looking?
Yeah, it's I think it comes back to a certain level of tenacity of spirit, right? I think there are a lot of answers. I think part of it is a really simple hope and faith in God and the fact that God has my back.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't always felt like that, but I've felt more recently in the last few years that like God's got my back big time.
Yeah.
Like more than I could ever imagine. There's this lyric to this Christian song I really like where it says that he will give us immeasurably more than we could even ask. And to me, that line is like mind blowing to think about. And sometimes I have a hard time believing it. But at the end of the day, that's my reductive answer, right? That's how I cope. That's how I hold on to hope. But in maybe a more day-to-day logical answer is, what other choice do I have?
Yeah.
Right? If I decide to give up on hope, the alternative is horrible.
Yeah.
So to me, there are a lot of things in my life that I don't have right now. And it's funny, they were hitting me like a ton of bricks last night for some reason. I haven't felt that way in a long time. And I woke up feeling better. And I don't know, I'm glad I'm not stuck in that pit, but I think if we want to beat this analogy to death, I think I'm always one or two steps away from the pit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary because I feel like it's easy to fall into, it's easy to get stuck down there, but also each time I've fallen in, I've gotten out.
Yeah.
And so in another sense, it's not that scary. So I think ultimately, I've just made the decision, right, that I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to lose hope. And if there are moments where I start to lose hope, that's okay. I just go seek it again. I go chase after it. Because to me, hope is something that I'm ultimately obsessed with. And so, just like this podcast, as meaningful as this all is to me, my growth on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever. I was talking to a creator friend of mine the other day. I was like, if I got hacked and my account went to zero, I would be so upset, but the next day I would start posting again and I would rebuild.
Yeah.
And that's how I view my relationship with hope.
Yeah.
Like if something comes collapsing down and feels catastrophic to me, I experience it, I feel it, I weep, and then I say, okay, well, what's my next step?
Yeah.
And listen, sometimes my next step is I wallow in bed and watch Hulu for 6 hours.
When it asks you, are you still watching? Yes.
I am. I actually, I super am. I just stopped to order a pizza. But that's okay. It's okay to have, in your journey of healing and recovering and dealing with grief, it's not a really organized, linear journey.
Yeah.
And so I don't beat myself up for maybe doing it in not the most healthy way one night.
Yeah.
Right.
We're all human.
Yeah.
Can I ask one follow-up question?
Yeah.
When you're talking, I just keep thinking, here are two people who have different life experiences in this way. I got married as a teen and jumped into that life. And it's really interesting. I just keep thinking that the cards that were dealt in life, they're all to help us develop into who we need to be, and through marriage at a really young age, which was actually really hard, by the way, had to learn some of those lessons. And you're getting married at an older age, like older, but you're not that old.
I get it. I'm advanced.
Older age. No, we're the same age almost. But just later in life, can I ask a follow-up question, which is, what do you think, in what specific ways have you developed to this person that you are sitting here today with me that wouldn't have been the case at 22, because your own unique life experiences have brought you the same development that I've probably been through in maturing in those things, just in different experiences.
Yeah. I think, part of me is so, there's this weird cognitive dissonance where I mourn the fact that I haven't, I wasn't married at 23 and I don't have 3 kids, and that life that I thought about and expected went a completely different direction. I mourn that actively, but I'm also really grateful because I know at 22 I was a knucklehead and had, I wasn't like a degenerate, but I just didn't understand myself.
Yeah.
One thing I really didn't understand that I thought I did was what I actually needed in a person, in a loving partnership. I had in my mind what I wanted in a person. And so going through a number of relationships and heartbreak and dating more than any human should, I've gotten a really good idea of what I need and how to make other people happy and how to make myself happy, and to also not find my whole purpose within a relationship.
Yeah.
When there's some perpetuity to your singleness, you don't put your self-worth in someone else.
Yeah.
Because if you do, you'd be miserable.
Yeah.
And so my self-worth is in myself.
Yeah.
Right. And so for that reason, I'm really grateful. It's funny. I was texting a friend last night and we were, he was kind of, because I was going through it last night, right?
Last night.
And he was just kind of, empathizing with me and being a really sweet friend. And, he was just kind of saying, man, I don't know why this has been your lot, but I know it's going to be like everything you ever want. It was, just saying a lot of really kind things. And I said, you know what, dude, maybe this sounds silly, but had I gotten married at 22 or something, I know for a fact I wouldn't have met you, wouldn't have met your wife, wouldn't have met this other friend. And I said, if that alone is the reason I didn't get married till later in life, great.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What a blessing. And, there's so many blessings and things that I'm sure when I do meet my person, I'll literally be able to sit down and write just thing after thing after thing after thing.
Yeah.
And so I used to sort of, I don't think I ever resented God or resented any higher being for my position in life, but I think I resented other people, because there was some jealousy in my heart. There was some like, how come they get everything they want and I get the scraps?
Yeah.
I get nothing. And not just with marriage, sometimes with career. Like, I feel like only 2 years ago did I have any purpose and direction with my career.
Yeah.
And I'd wanted it for a really long time, and I had tried, and I had grasped at straws, and I'd tried different things. And, I got into writing when I was in my mid-20s and published a couple books. But guess what? If you want to make it as an author, you got to sell a lot of books, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar to being a musician. Like, it's one thing to put out an album. It's another thing to say, I'm a full-time musician.
Yes.
Right? And so for a lot of years, I waited tables, and I did odd jobs, and I did different things. And there was a lot of my self-esteem, a lot of my ego that took a hit, because I was like, man, I got all these friends that seem to have it figured out, and they've got a retirement plan, and I don't have health insurance, and sometimes my card declines, and so I think I at times resented other people, and I'm just glad I'm past that and know that those people have nothing to do with me, and I'm so happy for them. I just have more of an abundance mindset now. I'm like, somebody's joy has nothing to do with my joy. It has nothing to do with my suffering either,
Yeah. Amen to all of that. And I feel like so many of the little tidbit lessons that you just said are things that I've learned through business or things, and we're all just down here trying to develop into the people that we want to be. You talked about looking at other people. I find that is something I struggle with is, what are they doing? What are they doing? I think social media is just a breeding ground for comparison.
Yeah.
And lately, actually in the last couple of years, I've started to just be like, eye on the prize. I always say that to myself, eye on the prize. Well, that means it's not an actual prize. I mean, it just means in my own lane, stay in my own lane.
Yeah.
In early business, I started finding that scarcity mindset would creep in where I'm like, well, if they're being successful, I can't be.
Yeah.
And to your same point, someone else's success does not detract from our own. Someone else's happiness does not detract from our own. And I think we all learn that in the hard ways that we have to learn it.
Right. And, I think it's good to have a certain level of just competition within you where, know, you want to improve and you want to...
A drive to be better.
You want to see, okay, this is where someone else's standard is. I want to try to get it.
Yeah.
I want to try to surpass them. But also...
healthy competition.
Yeah, but also knowing that I'm really in competition with myself.
Yeah. That's exactly it. It's
Yeah.
not with anyone else. And there's no timeline. I think we often look at people and think I'm supposed to have this done by this.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to, and there really is no timeline for for the right way to do this life.
Yeah.
I raced to the finish in my case. And, it's funny. My dad we always, we'll be talking, he'll say, but are they happy? The race to the finish doesn't mean someone's as happy as you.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, last parting words. I want to give you some advice as a young, starting out podcaster.
I need it. Thank you.
I just wanted to tell you two things, really. Firstly, it's funny you say you struggle with vulnerability because I see you crying on every episode.
I cry too much, probably. I can't help myself.
Here's my advice with that. My advice is to stop apologizing for it.
I need to.
And to stop saying, as you start getting choked up, you almost immediately start to apologize and say, I'm sorry, or I don't mean to get emotional. It's like, no, just be emotional.
Yeah.
Because you're good at it. You're good at feeling something deeply and expressing it and being there in the moment. And so don't deflect it at all.
That's great advice.
Just embrace it, and everyone can feel that.
Yeah.
And then just the other thing is that just a reminder that you're good at it. So just
Thank
keep
you.
doing it.
That's so nice.
That's like, to me, you don't need much else. Like we can sit down and talk about technical things, but just remember that this is something that you're good at and you're doing it for a reason. And you've had the amount of success you've had so far for a reason. And so the proof is already in the pudding. You just have to keep going and not listen to the voices in your head that tell you otherwise.
Stop.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate that. Thank you for saying both those things. I do notice I think one of the pieces of feedback I'm like scared is ugly crier. I'm like, I know it's not cute. Or what it also brings up for me is, hearing other people cry as a kid, like, would kind of make me uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't want to be that reason that anyone's feeling uncomfortable. So no, but those moments are powerful.
Yeah.
When the emotion does come naturally, it's powerful. And I see you do that here and be raw and real. You're good at just sitting in it and letting it be and breathe.
Yeah.
So I've learned that from you. No, and it helps. The feedback from people is helpful. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like knowing that someone's resonating with your message. And so as that started to amp up, I feel like I've been able to settle in to it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, no, but thank you for saying both those things.
Yeah,
Appreciate
of course. That. Okay. Any parting words? Any final thoughts?
No, this has been awesome. So thank you so much. I'm super grateful for an outlet to have people see a different side of me. I've been in the music box for so long.
Right.
And it's fun to be able to talk about relationships and vulnerability and kind of the more whole piece of the puzzle, which is me, not just the business person or the music person, but I get grumpy and I've had postpartum depression and we've had loss, and there's just a bigger picture to us all. And so if anyone walks away from this, I just hope they know that every single person is dealing with insecurity, hard time being vulnerable, and we're all battling our own little things, and we got this.
Yeah. With
our gifts and our unique talents, we will all thrive and make it to where we want to go, become the people we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, precisely. And, we'll probably name this episode Sarah Gets the Grumpies Too.
Yeah, Sarah does. And I don't think anyone will be surprised. Anyone close to me will be like, well, yeah.
Yeah, we know she has
we
the
all
grumpies. do. Yeah. And, I think that's another thing you lean into with your show. Like, your format's a little different than mine, but I think the more you showcase more of yourself, the more of your personality, the more people will connect with you.
Yeah.
And, you might have some episodes that you're very much a facilitator and an interviewer.
Yeah.
But when you can, sprinkle in these little bits about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My podcast producer at the end of the last episode, he said that. Yeah. And I'm glad to hear you validate it, because he's like, I have the tendency, to be really polished and really poised and buttoned up. And I'm actually not that way in real life. Right. I feel more, energetic, and my fear is to detract from the guest. And his comment was, we want to hear more from you. And so you're going to. This is my pledge. You will hear more from me, personality-wise, on my show.
Okay, awesome. Well,
thanks so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
This has been so fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.